Look, when it comes to building your podcast, there is no magic bullet. And I see so many people over on Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, and even in person asking me, what can they do to market their show? What can they do to help boost listenership? And the answer is, well, they can actually start marketing their show. But if you're not a marketer, how do you go about making sure that the valuable investment that you put into your podcast is spent in the right place? And that, thanks to Larry, is what we're going to talk about here on the Podcast Accelerator. I'm Mark Asquith, CEO and founder of Rebel Base Media, where we make podcast software such as Captivate.fm and much more. And I'm going to get to the answer to the question in just 1 second. But I do want to give a shout out, of course, number one, to the team at AWeber. I've been lucky enough to spend some time with Brandon and Jenna and some of the team out here in San Diego for social media marketing world. And believe me, some of the things that they've got coming down the wire for you as a podcaster to help you to build and retain your audience is just off the charts. So please do consider email marketing. Do consider building your own data and your own list, all right? Please, please, please go and check out AWeber at markasquith.com/AWeber. And the second shout out goes to Larry, a long-time listener of the Podcast Accelerator, who wrote into me after last week's episode where we discussed all sorts of team ideas, how to recruit your team. And then yesterday, of course, I did the follow-up episode from a question from Danny Brown. Now, this is kind of the sequel to that, because Larry wrote in and he said, look, Marco, I get it. You know, I need marketing. I've got to market my show. You know, I've got to let people find out about me. I need people to tune in, move up through the listener acquisition flow, and ultimately become a subscriber and you know, further than that, a fan and an advocate. And he said, but the thing is, Mark, I don't really know too much about marketing, so how do I make sure that these people are the right people? How do I make sure that I'm not just wasting my money? And that's a really, really good question, Larry. So what I want to do is just talk through how we used to commission people back in the day when we used to work with the agency, when I used to run Hacksaw, and also how we used to get commissioned. Ultimately, you know, my role before podcasting and even in Rebel Base Media, right? My role is to be a strategic marketer. You know, I'm not always the day-to-day tactical marketer that I'd like to be. That comes with, you know, being a CEO. It comes with being the kind of the person with whom the buck stops. I've got to do so many other things that take me away from day-to-day marketing. But strategic marketing is still very much in my wheelhouse, and it's something that I do for Rebel Base Media pretty much full time. So when it comes to commissioning anything, whether it is a marketer, whether it's a designer, whether it's a podcast editor, it doesn't matter what it is really, Larry. The thing you've got to consider is testimony. You've got to look at social proof. What have they done before? But you've also got to get a feel for their personality. You've got to make sure that they can really put something together that's going to really hit the mark. And we talked about this on the last episode with Danny, where you say, look, I've got a very specific problem that I'm going to put a project timeline on, and I'm going to allocate a bit of a budget to. And I want to see, can we solve this problem? Can we get around this? Can we market through this? Can we build influence? Can we hit these numbers, these SMART objectives, specific, measurable, attainable, results-driven, time-bound goals? Can we hit them? And then can we work together moving forward? But the thing is, the question that Larry asked was kind of the second part of that. And that is very much around the people. It's very much around the social proof, the testimony. How do you make sure that the person that you're working with is not just some fly-by-night? How do you know they're not just going to take that cash and not deliver? Well, marketers, honestly, in my mind, fall into two categories. Marketers that can prove their salt, that can prove their worth, and marketers that just turn up and look a little bit flash. Now, in the old Hacksaw days, we used to do some local government-funded work, and every single time we'd turn up as the digital company, so doing the web, doing the branding, doing the software development, there'd be some marketing company that was in there as well, and it was typically someone in, you know, fairly flash outfits, turning up in a fairly flash car, talking about the holidays and the houses, and it was crap. You know, they weren't delivering anything, but what they did do was make the client feel good. They made them feel good, like they were excited, like they had possibility, like they had plenty to go at, but they never actually delivered. They fall into the latter category of marketers, Larry, who are ultimately full of crap. They are. They're just, the way that kind of company works is that they just work off a solid retainer, knowing that every 6 months they're going to churn, because they know that after 6 months you'll realise they're not doing anything, and they will constantly fill their pipeline with new people looking for a 6-month lifetime value out of you as a client, which is absolute rubbish. The other side of the coin is looking for, in my view, who I believe, outside of strategic marketing, where you build a framework and a strategy and overarching arm, the tactical marketers, the people that get down and dirty, that get gritty with this, that really get into the weeds with you, who will be able to say to you, look, not only is this the strategy that we're working on, but we're going to use these channels, Facebook ads, and this is the awareness part of it, this is the engagement part of it, this is the conversion part of it. These people will really be able to show you results. Okay, so that's the thing that you've got to think about here, Larry, is that when you invest in money, there's always a risk. It doesn't matter what you're investing in. It genuinely doesn't matter. Whether it's a new car, whether it's some new clothing, whether it's a trip away, whether it's a marketer. And what you've got to understand is that testimony, quite literally, is the only thing to work on, but it's how you ask for the testimony that really, really matters. So in particular, what you've got to consider here is, can you show me case studies that I can use that match broadly with what I'm doing? Now, what you need to understand here is that marketing is marketing, whether you're marketing a restaurant, whether you're marketing a podcast, whether you're marketing a computer, whether you're marketing a car, doesn't matter. Marketing principles are always the same, okay? The tactics and the approaches change, but the principles are always the same. So if someone can market a blog or can market a YouTube channel and can help to grow that, then you can be fairly sure that they're going to be able to help you to grow your podcast. So look for someone that has got very strong digital capabilities that can demonstrate to you what they've done in the past and what they can do for you in the future. And also brief them. Think about it like a developer or an engineer interview. If we interview people here at Rebel Base Media, say for the Captivate product team, what we will very clearly do is we'll set development engineering tasks. We will say to them, right, okay, we want you to build something so we can test the legitimacy of your code, so that we can test how you work in a day-to-day environment. We can figure out how you get along with a team. Ask them to look, not necessarily do a pile of spec work, but just have a good conversation with how they would approach this, okay? Go deep on it. Go get coffee with them. Make sure that you feel comfortable with them. And then, just like I said to Danny, make sure that you give them specific, measurable, attainable, results-driven, and time-bound objectives. All right, look, I'm pretty sure that culturally you fit. You understand what I'm trying to achieve on my podcast. You know what the goals are and when we want to try and achieve them. Can we start and can we review after X amount of time, when we believe that we should have seen these results? And are you, the marketer, happy if I do not commit to anything past that? Let's review that. If the marketer is fine with that, you can be fairly sure that they're very, very, very much confident in what they do, and they will probably get you the results. All right, so I hope that helps, Larry. It's not an easy thing to do, granted, especially if it's not in your wheelhouse, but look for testimony, social proof, and find someone that you think fits. You want someone that works and understands just the day-to-day of marketing. You don't want someone that makes you feel excited, but when you really strip it back, hasn't really added much. All right. So let me know how you get along, Larry. Hit me up, drop me an email, send me a tweet at Mr. Asquith. Always happy to help, my man. And if anyone is headed to Podfest over in Orlando, we'll be on the flight out there tomorrow. So please, 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 if you are out there, come and stop by the booth. We'll be there giving away some amazing Rebel Base Media swag and, of course, showing you around Captivate.fm, the world's only growth-oriented podcast host. So, until then, have fun, stay safe, enjoy yourself, and never forget, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel.